Hey everybody, I'm Fabian for Liberty. Check out FabianForLiberty.com where I post all my videos. Major report, announcement. As you can see, I haven't even had time to shave. You know, my team and I, the few people that help me do research, that we're doing research, have literally been up all night. I was up last night till 3 in the morning, then I woke up again at 6 in the morning, researching just the Syria event. Something is terribly wrong. The Navy Yard shooting is a major distraction. That's a whole nother issue. I'll cover that in later videos. And it is, if anything, regardless of what you believe of what happened, it is, again, injecting the whole national gun debate. Now, that's the main topic of the news, the national gun debate, not what's happening in Syria. I'm here to tell you today that U.S. troops are massing along the Jordan and Turkish border. Close to 10,000 U.S. troops are now along these borders. We know now the Pentagon back in 2012 put together a detailed report about how to take control of all of the chemical weapons. You would need roughly 75,000 boots on the ground. A New York Times article quoting an expert in chemical weapons, an expert in all of this, he's a United Nations weapons inspector, said, quote, "We're talking boots on the ground. You're just not putting someone at the gate. You have to have layers of security." Meaning, he's a weapons inspector for the UN. He's saying, look, there are 72 chemical weapons sites that we know about in Syria that create and store these chemical weapons, okay? All of those chemical weapon storage places are along the major population centers of Syria. If you look at a map of Syria, everything to the west, what's closest to Lebanon and the Turkish border and the Mediterranean, from Aleppo up in the north all the way down to Damascus in the south, the majority of the population is along that coast, if you will, along the western side of the country. Everything else that the rebels control, the majority of what the rebels control in the east, is pretty much desert. There's really not much there except these like nomad villages, smaller villages. It's not, Damascus, Aleppo, some of these other big cities in Syria. Well, Assad has purposely kept these chemical weapon storage facilities in major city hubs, right? Metro areas. To secure these chemical weapons needs a lot of manpower. And as we now know, the UN weapons inspector is saying boots on the ground. Well, Obama back in 2012 had a detailed report that was given to him saying 75,000 troops would be needed. Last week, I did another video about troops being deployed to Syria. And the Pentagon basically not even answering the questions of who's going to help with the chemical weapons? Who's going to, gather them, put them together? He wouldn't answer if troops would be deployed or not. Now, Obama last week, as you know, gave a primetime address. He's been talking about how he wants to give diplomacy a chance, but his actions prove otherwise. In June, along in the Jordan-Syrian border, we had 4,500 U.S. troops that were used there in a war game scenario titled Eager Lion. You could look it up yourself. Well, the majority of those troops, if not all of them, have been left behind. What a coincidence. They are still along the Jordan-Syrian border. Now, the Syrian border with Turkey, which is roughly 500 miles long, not only has the Turkish military amassed hundreds of tanks, thousands of troops, but now we know there are thousands of U.S. troops as well along the Turkish border. Now, some of these have been put there going back to January with the UN. The UN was, basically mandated because Turkey said, look, some of these missiles are going into Turkey. If you recall, last year or earlier this year, a few stray missiles hit some Turkish villages along the Syrian-Turkish border. So now, Patriot missile defense systems armed by U.S. troops are along the Turkish border. They've been adding to that, as also the air base in Turkey that will be used as a staging ground, also the British airfield as well, in Cyprus, will be used as staging grounds, have been buzzing with all kinds of U.S. weaponry, all kinds of, fighter jets, all kinds of bombing B-52s or B-2 bombers have been going in and out, stationed as well in these air bases, okay? Something is not right here, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, World War I started with a sequence of alliances that were formed well in advance of the Archduke Ferdinand moment. Currently, we have an alliance with Turkey. They're part of NATO. If they're attacked, right, U.S. has to back them up, right? We know that even though David Cameron was rejected by Parliament for military action in Syria, we know that his military, or the military in England, their defense minister, they're still coordinating a full-blown, what if attack on Syria. We're using their airspace. We're getting all kinds of help from them. Same with the Israelis. We've had another carrier docked in Israel that is used specifically for special agent operations or special operations from these kind of like Navy SEALs or Green Beret type commando units, if you will. Let me just say that something is terribly wrong here. Turkey today shot down a Syrian helicopter with some F-15s or F-16s. That border is on fire. Anything can happen at any time. U.S. troops are already being deployed to the Syrian border. 75,000 troops will be needed. The media is talking about gun control. They're not talking about a major potential escalation of events in Syria with an agreement that already top military, if you can just do your own research, I'll link this New York Times article as well so you can read it. Most high-level military consultants, military experts, retired, even some that are doing off-the-record stuff, are saying there is no way you can secure chemical weapons in Syria without full-blown ground invasion and someone looking over all of this. What do you think about this? I'd love to hear your feedback. I'm Fabian for Liberty. Check me out also at fabianforliberty.com, Facebook /Fabian for Liberty. I'm out.